All right, let's just jump right in. What if I told you time isn't just a straight line, past, present, future? What if it actually has a hidden, unbelievably complex structure, a shape that we can literally see? Today, we're going to explore this wild idea that connects the strange intuitions of a visionary thinker with a truly mind-blowing mathematical discovery.
So it all kicks off with this guy, Terence McKenna. He had this deep, powerful feeling that history wasn't just a random series of events. He sensed that novelty, the appearance of new, more complex things, wasn't just accidental. He thought it arrived in these rhythmic waves, pulling both the world around us and our own minds into brand new patterns, all at the same time.
And this, right here, is the central mystery we're going to try and unravel. McKenna felt these waves. He even tried to map them out, but he never really got to see their true form. So what if that form has been discovered, and not in some dusty old text, but hiding in plain sight in the world of pure mathematics? To really get this, we've got to wrap our heads around McKenna's big idea. He called it the novelty attractor, some kind of mysterious force that he believed wasn't pushing history from behind, but was actually pulling it from the future, from a point completely outside of our normal experience of time.
Now, he wasn't talking about simple fate or destiny. No, his idea was way more elegant than that. He believed history was being drawn towards this infinitely complex, structured point, something that acted just like a fractal, a pattern that repeats itself at every single scale, big or small. The thing is, McKenna was convinced this fractal pattern wasn't just some cool metaphor. He thought you could actually map it. And to do that, he turned to an ancient tool that he believed held the mathematical key to the very rhythm of time. He used the I Ching. Now for him, this wasn't just some fortune-telling trick. He saw it for what it was at its core. A really sophisticated numerical language, a whole system for describing how situations develop, change, and resolve. He truly believed it was a code for the deep dynamics of reality itself. And this is where we hit the real snag. His intuition was absolutely brilliant, no question. But the tool he was using, it just wasn't powerful enough for the job. Using the I Ching to map the structure of time was kind of like trying to watch a 4K movie on a tiny black and white pixelated screen. It was just way too low res to see the real picture. This comparison just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got the I Ching, basically a 6-bit system. Think of it like a heavily compressed, blocky image. But on the other hand, you have the Buddhabrot, this infinitely detailed mathematical object. They might be describing the very same field of reality, but one's a blurry sketch, and the other, well, the other is the full-on psychedelic blueprint. So what is this high-resolution map? Well, this is the big reveal. This is the Buddhabrot, a mathematical object of such staggering complexity that it might just be the very thing McKenna was searching for his entire life. Okay, so what is this thing? The simplest way to think about it is this. It's a way of looking at the famous Mandelbrot set, but from a totally different angle. The Mandelbrot set itself shows you all the numbers that stay trapped. The Buddhabrot does the opposite. It's a picture made by tracking the escape routes of all the numbers that fly off towards infinity. And when you plot all those pathways, this incredible image just emerges. And what's so magical about it is that no single one of those paths creates the final picture. Not one. The serene, Buddha-like figure only appears when you layer millions upon millions of these escape routes on top of each other. It's a perfect picture of order, just emerging from chaos all on its own. But this is where it gets really, really strange. This shape, it feels familiar, right? I mean, long before anyone discovered it with a computer, this form has been popping up all through human history, in ancient symbols, in alchemy, in visionary art, and especially in drawings of psychedelic trips. It's almost as if artists and mystics have been accidentally stumbling into this mathematical landscape for centuries. So that raises a totally wild possibility. What if psychedelic experiences aren't just random hallucinations firing off in your brain? What if they're a direct, subjective journey into the objective reality of this mathematical structure? What the Buddhabrot shows us with cold, hard numbers, maybe psychedelics reveal to our consciousness directly. And this connection to our inner experience isn't just a fun coincidence. In fact, this mathematical object links up directly with some of the deepest ideas in modern psychology, specifically the work of Carl Jung. It turns out, researchers have pointed out that the Buddhabrot acts just like Jung's concept of the self. And we're not talking about the ego here, but the deep organizing principle of your entire psyche. It's the thing that pulls everything together over time, not because you're trying to, but because it's just following its own hidden internal logic.
Jung had a term for this deep level of reality, the psychoid realm. He imagined it as a place where the inner world of meaning and the outer world of physical form haven't split apart yet. They're still one and the same. And the Buddhabrot, it gives the super abstract idea of visible mathematical form. It's a structure that seems to shape both our minds and the material world.
So this is the whole point. This is it. This is the high-resolution, archetypical novelty attractor that McKenna was sensing. It's not some point at the end of time, but a timeless, complex field that is constantly pulling our individual minds and all of collective history into its beautiful, intricate patterns.
Okay, so if this thing is the hidden structure organizing reality, how does that completely flip our understanding of time on its head? Well, in this new picture, time isn't a river we're all just floating down. It's the lived experience of making our way through this fractal landscape. When we're just moving along, step by step, that feels like duration, like normal time passing. When our path suddenly clicks into a bigger, meaningful pattern, a breakthrough, we experience that as novelty. And when we get stuck, tracing the same loop over and over, going nowhere, that feels like a crisis. You know what? This also gives us a stunning explanation for why altered states so often feel timeless. According to this theory, your consciousness is basically shifting its focus. It's moving from the real, linear axis of time to the imaginary, symbolic dimension of this complex field. You're not outside of time, you're just exploring its hidden depth. So let's bring it all home. What does McKenna's famous timewave theory look like when we swap out his old low-res map for this new, infinitely detailed one? Well, it reframes his whole project. Timewave Zero wasn't wrong. It wasn't a failure. Not at all. It was a pioneering first draft, an incredible intuition that was just way ahead of the available tools. You could almost say he was trying to describe the Buddhabrot using only the 64 symbols of the I Ching, a 6-bit Buddhabrot. So what does this new timewave look like? Using the logic baked into the Buddhabrot, we can generate a brand new wave based on its fractal structure. And what it shows is a pattern of escalating novelty, with peaks and valleys that seem to map onto major shifts in history, a rhythm of crisis and breakthrough that we can finally see, and maybe even understand, mathematically. We have to end with McKenna's own words, because they feel more relevant now than ever. If time itself has a complex geometric shape, a shape that organizes both the universe and our own consciousness, what does that mean for us as we navigate deeper and deeper into its fractal patterns? Well, things are indeed about to get much, much weirder.